We called a random sample of 1,000 Americans and asked the following question. Do you think inaccuracies in price indices inflate gains relative to multi-factor productivity and therefore mask the outsized impact of the offshoring bias in U.S. manufacturing? 999 of the respondents said, "What?" One guy said that if we ever call him again, he'll hunt us down like the dogs we are. Funny? The point is, if you had the time to read detailed econometric studies on the impact of global trade, and I'm sure you don't, well, who understands those things anyway? Yet, as you are likely aware, we're in the middle of a global trade brawl of historic proportions. And the fact is, even without all the fancy economic jargon, this is a very complicated issue. This is Dan Joseph of the China Learning Curve, and that's why we've made this series of videos on the trade war. Of course, everyone wants to blame the trade war on this guy, and certainly Donald Trump is the major player. But President Trump is far from alone. As far as protectionists are concerned, hey, Bernie is no slouch. And the same goes for other Democrats. We have Republicans on the side opposite the president and other world leaders as well. We've even had economic advisors within the same administration on both sides of this one. All of this reflects the fact that the American people are kind of split on trade. When asked whether trade has a positive impact on jobs, wages, and prices, about 1/3 said no, 1/3 said yes, and the rest said they don't know. We have think tanks on both sides of this issue, organizations and supporters too, although clearly some supporters are more enthusiastic than others. We even have 17th century economists on both sides of this issue, which gives you an idea as to how long the debate has been raging. The voices on both sides, the fact that this topic goes back so far, reflects the complexity of the issue. There are so many factors involved, and like any such issue, identifying cause and effect isn't easy. It's like, let's say there was a football team that was pretty good. Some people might think that's because of one reason. Others might think another reason, and still others might focus on yet another reason. Cause and effect. That's the hard part, which is why debates like these tend to bounce around. For example, people on this side will say that trade deficits are bad, a drag on the economy. So the other side says, no, trade deficits aren't bad or good, just a result of other things important to the economy. So then the first side says, what about all those manufacturing jobs we're losing? So the other side says, yeah, we're losing manufacturing jobs, but not because of trade, because of technology and productivity. Plus, says that side, it's not just about manufacturing. There's agriculture, tech, services, free trade works across the economy. So then the first side says, but it's not free trade, it's unfair trade. The others are cheating. To which this side says, okay, there's cheating, but it's not as bad as you say it is. And if you want to fix the cheating, then let's fix it on all sides. Because, like we said, free trade works. Which leads to the final point. Even if we agree there is a problem, how do we fix it? People have many ideas relative to improving trade, jobs, and the overall economy. And even people on the same side of this debate don't always agree which approach makes sense. Deficits, manufacturing, cheating, free trade, the overall impact. That's what this debate looks like. It's like whack-a-mole. You make one point, someone just changes the subject again and again. It's hard to nail down. To counter that whack-a-mole effect, we break down our video series into the main topics we've identified thus far, so we can present the issue of trade in a way that is organized and easy to follow. We've also broken it down into bite-sized pieces that don't make you feel like you were just force-fed a dissertation on trade theory in one sitting. Before signing off, we should make one other point. Besides making for great campaign ads and sound bites, there's ample evidence that trade and how we interact with the global economy overall is fairly important. For example, trade adds up to roughly 20% of the U.S. economy, which isn't small, particularly for a large country like the U.S. 44% of the revenue of the S&P 500 comes from overseas. 44% is a big number. Foreigners own about 25% of U.S. stocks and between 40 to 50% of U.S. government debt. Foreigners own roughly $35 trillion in assets in the U.S., 175% of U.S. GDP, and Americans own $21 trillion overseas, about 135% of GDP. The point is simple. The global economy is highly interconnected, probably for a reason. We have to be careful when we think of messing with that. One last closing point. Unless you regularly peruse economic data tables, we can just about guarantee you are going to learn something new about trade, the U.S. and global economy in our videos. And if you take these issues seriously, that might be reason enough to watch. This is Dan Joseph with the China Learning Curve. Thanks for watching.